to have had Michael here for 9 years. I can only imagine what it was like seeing Babe Ruth, because I think this man, I used to say, was the Babe Ruth of basketball. I've now come to believe that Babe Ruth was the Michael Jordan of baseball. Michael?
Thanks, Jerry. I think everyone knows exactly what the circumstances are right now in terms of my decision not to play the game of basketball.
Playing in the NBA is a dream job for many. The thought of getting paid an enormous amount of money for doing something you're already passionate about would excite anyone, so it makes sense that many players are reluctant to retire, and sometimes a player will end their career only to regret their decision and return to the court. I'm C-Ball B-Ball, and here are 5 NBA players who came out of retirement. To begin this video, I will be talking about the most obvious and well-known example, Michael Jordan. Jordan came out of retirement twice during his 15-year-long career, once after playing a season of minor league baseball in 1994, and a second time in 2001 after a 3-year-long hiatus. There honestly isn't much to say here that most people don't already know. He first retired to go play baseball after the murder of his father, who had been a semi-pro baseball player. Michael's dad dreamed of him becoming a baseball star, and Michael wanted to fulfill that dream. Jordan's second unretirement resulted in him playing basketball for the Wizards for 2 years, a team that he also served as part owner and president of basketball operations for. The Wizards only won 19 games during his first year as president, and he desperately wanted to help the team, so he did it in the best way he knew how. One interesting footnote is that some people theorize that Jordan's first retirement actually served as some sort of secret suspension from David Stern for violating league gambling rules, and while there isn't any hard evidence for the claim, the idea that Jordan, a known intense gambler and possible addict, was suspended for breaking league rules isn't super far-fetched. Dave Cowens did not play long in the NBA. He was only 31 when he retired for the first time. Despite this, he was able to leave his mark on the league, winning 2 championships, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. The reason for his retirement is one shared with many other players, with injury problems being the main cause. Cowens himself said that he sprained his ankle at least 30 times, broke both legs, and fractured a foot. Despite probably not being a good idea, Dave decided to come out of retirement after being absent from the NBA for 2 seasons. He felt that he no longer had a place in Boston as the team already had well-established bigs, so he asked the Celtics front office to trade him as they still held his rights. Dave ended up in Milwaukee, where he'd only played 40 games and missed the playoffs due to an injury he received during the last game of the regular season. Bob Cousy was one of the first big names in basketball, mostly due to his passing abilities, which are impressive even by today's standards. Cousy is widely known for his years on the Celtics, where he recorded many impressive feats, such as leading the league in assists for 8 consecutive seasons. What is less known about him, however, is that he played 7 games for the Cincinnati Royals after being gone for 6 seasons. Something even more interesting is that Cousy was 41 and was also coaching the team. While there isn't that much known about the circumstances surrounding his decision to re-enter the league, we do know that Cousy played a total of 34 minutes throughout his return, yet somehow managed to cost the Royals a game when he threw an errant pass in the final minutes of a close game against the Knicks. Next up is Magic Johnson. Now he's unique for being the only player on the list who had to retire because of non-basketball related reasons. As is known by most basketball fans, Magic had to retire in 1991 after testing positive for HIV due to questions surrounding the impact the virus would have on his health, and partially because of the stigma surrounding the virus at the time. Now Magic sort of came out of retirement twice. The first time was only during the 1992 All-Star Game, where he'd actually go on to win MVP. The second time was on a slightly more permanent basis, as his return in 1996 saw him play 32 regular season games and 4 playoff games. He performed quite well in his return, especially for a guy who hadn't played for 4 seasons. Magic would retire before the start of the next season, but at least he got to retire on his own terms. Finally, we have George Mikan. George Mikan is a legend and easily one of the most important pioneers in the history of professional basketball. He was also incredibly important to the Lakers franchise as a player, meaning that they needed him on the court at all times. This resulted in Mikan retiring before the age of 30, as serious injuries such as broken bones that he played through had finally caught up to him. However, it wouldn't take long for Mikan to make his return. He'd miss 1 full season, then return to the Lakers roster halfway through the 1955 and 56 season. Unfortunately, this return would be a low point in his career, with him playing on restricted minutes and just not performing at the same level everybody was used to seeing. The Lakers barely made it to the playoffs and lost in the division semifinals. However, on the positive side of things, George Mikan would get inaugurated into the Basketball Hall of Fame only 3 years later in 1959.